Do you feel it? That pressure in your chest, that whisper in your mind telling you, I can't, I'm not enough, this is too hard. That, my friends, is your limit talking, and here's the truth. Limits are not real. They only exist because we allowed them to exist. They are invisible chains forged by fear, doubt, and the voice of society telling you who you are, and more importantly, who you're not. But here's the thing, limits are not walls, they are hurdles. They are signals that you are on the edge of your potential, and if you let them stay there, if you let them define you, they will break you. They will slowly drain your ambition, smother your dreams, and convince you that comfort is the ultimate goal. And comfort is not life, it's the grave of your potential. So, what do? You fight, you push, you smash through them before they have a chance to destroy you. You refuse to let your fears dictate your reality. Every limit you have, every barrier you face is an opportunity to prove to yourself and the world that you are bigger than any obstacle, stronger than any challenge, and capable of more than you've ever imagined. You have to get uncomfortable, you have to embrace pain. Why? Because pain is the most honest teacher you will ever meet. It doesn't lie, it doesn't cheat, it doesn't give you excuses. It forces you to grow. And growth, my friends, happens outside of your comfort zone. Every breakthrough, every transformation, every moment of greatness begins the second you step beyond the limits you once believed defined you. But here's the secret. Breaking limits is not about brute force. It's about mindset. It's about refusing to accept mediocrity. It's about saying to yourself, I am not who I was yesterday. I am not defined by fear. I am unlimited. When you adopt that mindset, the world bends to your determination. The impossible becomes possible. Doors you thought were closed open. Challenges you feared become stepping stones. You begin to realize that the only thing holding you back was you. And the only thing standing in your way now is your willingness to fight. And yes, there will be fear. Yes, there will be setbacks. Yes, there will be moments where quitting feels like the easiest option. But quitting is a limit in disguise. Quitting is surrendering to what you're capable of becoming. And every second you resist quitting, every time you push past that hesitation, you are breaking another chain. You are proving that you are stronger than the circumstances, more resilient than the obstacles, and more committed to your vision than anyone else's doubts. You need to make a decision right now. Will you let your limits define you, or will you define your limits? Will you live in fear, or will you take massive action? Will you settle for mediocrity, or will you break free and live a life so extraordinary it shakes the world? The choice is yours. But know this, your limits are waiting. They will not disappear, they will challenge you every single day, so break them before they break you. Smash through every fear, doubt, and excuse. Tear down every wall that stands between you and your true potential. The world rewards those who refuse to be small. It rewards those who see boundaries not as final destinations, but as invitations to rise, to conquer, to evolve. And you, my friend, have everything it takes to rise, everything it takes to conquer, everything it takes to evolve. So stand tall, breathe deep, and make the choice not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Break your limits before they break you. And when you do, you will discover a version of yourself that the world has never seen and a life that you have never dared to dream. Limits are illusions, and yet they have an incredible power over the way we live our lives. They are the invisible walls that appear in our minds, walls built by fear, doubt, and the whispers of a world that constantly tells us what we can't do. From the moment we are born, we are conditioned to see boundaries everywhere. You can't do that. It's too risky. Not everyone is meant to succeed. These are the messages that seep into our consciousness and shape the way we see ourselves. And if you are not careful, you start to believe them. You begin to live inside a cage that exists only in your mind, thinking that it is real, thinking that it is permanent. But here's the truth that very few people ever realize. Those limits, those walls, those boundaries, they are not real. They are constructs. They are illusions. They are things you have allowed to exist because you haven't yet challenged them, because you have settled for less, because you have feared what lies beyond the familiar. Every limit you have, every belief that says you are not enough, is a choice. You can choose to believe it, or you can choose to break it. The first step in breaking your limits is awareness. You must see them for what they truly are. Take a moment and think about the things you have always told yourself are impossible. The dreams you have abandoned, the goals you have avoided, the challenges you have avoided because you thought you couldn't handle them. Those thoughts are the limit talking. And here's the kicker. Your limits are not external. They are internal. They live inside you, in the story you tell yourself about who you are and what you are capable of. They are the chains of your own making. But once you recognize them, once you name them, once you shine a light on them, their power begins to diminish. Breaking limits requires courage. It requires a willingness to look at yourself and say, I have been lying to myself. I am capable of more than I have allowed. This is not a small step. It is not an easy step. It is a step that forces you to confront fear, doubt, and discomfort. And that is exactly why it works. You see, growth never happens inside the cage of comfort. Growth happens when you push against the walls, when you test the boundaries, when you go where you have been afraid to go. Every time you challenge a limit, you expand your capacity for what is possible. Every time you refuse to accept, I can't, you create a new standard for yourself, a new level of what you can achieve. The world is full of people who let their limits define them. They settle for mediocrity, they accept what is easy, they shrink themselves to fit into the expectations of others. And while they live their lives in safety, in routine, in predictability, the truth is, they are dying slowly inside. The spark that could have set their life on fire is dimmed because they never took the risk to break their limits. They never refused to accept the story that was handed to them. You, however, have a choice. You can follow that path, or you can choose differently. You can see your limits as challenges, as invitations to rise, as markers that point directly to where you need to grow. Breaking limits also requires action. Awareness and courage alone are not enough. You must act. You must step into the discomfort. You must do the things that feel risky, the things that scare you, the things that your old self would have avoided. And here is the secret. Action creates momentum. The moment you act, even imperfectly, the limits that once seemed immovable begin to crumble. You begin to realize that they were never real, that they were only beliefs, and beliefs can be changed. Step by step, challenge by challenge, the invisible walls break down. The impossible becomes possible. The fears that once held you hostage lose their grip. And finally, breaking your limits is about identity. It's about redefining who you are. You are not the person who is constrained by fear, who doubts, who hesitates. You are the person who pushes through, who rises above, who refuses to be defined by what others say you can or cannot do. Every limit you break transforms your identity. Every time you push beyond, you send a signal to yourself, to the universe, that you are bigger, stronger, and more capable than you thought. You begin to see yourself not as a person with limits, but as a person without boundaries, as someone whose potential is limitless, as someone who has the power to shape their own destiny. Getting uncomfortable is not a curse. It is the gateway to growth. Every single person who has achieved greatness, every person who has reached heights others thought impossible, has one thing in common. They stepped into discomfort. They embraced the unknown, the uncertainty, the challenges that most people run from. And this is where most people fail to understand the truth. Comfort is not your friend. Comfort is a trap. It is a silent killer that lulls you into mediocrity, that convinces you that easy is better than excellence, that staying safe is somehow the ultimate goal. But the moment you decide to remain comfortable, the moment you refuse to push beyond what feels easy, that is the moment your growth stops. your potential is capped, your dreams shrink, your life becomes smaller than it was meant to be. Discomfort is not a signal to retreat. It is a signal to advance. It is the body and mind's way of telling you that you are on the edge of a breakthrough. The moments that scare you the most, the challenges that make you question yourself, the tasks that feel too big, too risky, too impossible. These are the exact moments that will define the trajectory of your life if you choose to face them. You see, comfort is easy to love, but it does not create strength. Discomfort is difficult to embrace, but it creates resilience, power, and a confidence that no amount of ease can ever give you. Every time you choose discomfort, you are telling yourself and the world that you are willing to do what others will not, that you are willing to endure what others cannot, and that you are willing to fight for what most people only dream about. Think about it. Every significant achievement in human history, every act of courage, every moment of innovation, every leap forward began with someone stepping out of their comfort zone. The artist who poured their heart onto the canvas, even when critics laughed. The entrepreneur who risked everything on an idea that seemed crazy. The athlete who trained in freezing rain, in scorching heat, when every part of their body screamed to quit. They all embraced discomfort, and in doing so, they rewired themselves for growth. They understood a simple but powerful truth. Nothing extraordinary is ever created inside the walls of comfort. Comfort is quiet, safe, and predictable. Growth is loud, risky, and transformative. You must learn to welcome discomfort as your ally, not your enemy. Every time you feel fear, hesitation, or doubt creeping in, recognize it as a sign that you are stretching, that you are expanding, that you are evolving. Do not shrink from it. Do not ignore it. Do not let it convince you to retreat. Lean into it. Lean into the challenge. Lean into the work that scares you, the conversations that intimidate you, the risks that make your heart race. This is how strength is built. This is how confidence is forged. This is how limits are shattered. The more you practice getting uncomfortable, the less power fear will have over you. The more you practice embracing challenge, the more you discover that what once seemed impossible is now within your reach. Getting uncomfortable is not just about action. It is about mindset. It is about redefining what you see as acceptable and what you demand from yourself. Most people settle for less because they are unwilling to endure the temporary discomfort required to achieve more. They stop short, they quit early, they give in to excuses. But you cannot break through unless you are willing to feel the strain, to feel the tension, to experience the friction that comes with stretching beyond what is easy. Every setback, every failure, every moment of struggle is an opportunity to strengthen your mind, your character, and your resolve. Comfort may feel good in the short term, but it is pain in disguise over the long term because it robs you of your potential and leaves you with regrets that will never fade. You also must understand that discomfort is relative. What feels uncomfortable to you today may feel normal tomorrow if you persist. The person who embraces challenge repeatedly trains their mind and body to adapt, to endure, to conquer. Each time you push past hesitation, each time you do the thing that makes you nervous, you stretch your capacity. You expand the boundaries of what you believe is possible. And here's the beautiful part. Once you get comfortable with being uncomfortable, you stop being controlled by fear. You stop being limited by self-doubt. You stop letting circumstances dictate what you can and cannot achieve. Discomfort becomes the bridge between who you are today and who you are capable of becoming. And this is the moment you must take seriously. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. Every time you shrink from discomfort, you reinforce old limits. Every time you embrace it, you redefine your potential. You are capable of far more than you realize, but nothing will happen unless you lean in, unless you take action, unless you do what most people refuse to do because it feels too hard, too awkward, too risky. Mindset is everything, and yet It is often the one thing people neglect the most. Your thoughts, your beliefs, and the story you tell yourself about who you are determine the trajectory of your life far more than circumstances, talent, or luck ever could. A person with limited resources but an unstoppable mindset will achieve more than someone with endless advantages but a weak belief in themselves. Mindset is the lens through which you see the world, and it colors every decision, every action, every opportunity. If you see yourself as limited, small, or incapable, then your actions will reflect that belief. You will hold back, you will doubt yourself, and you will accept less than you are capable of. On the other hand, if you adopt a mindset of abundance, possibility, and relentless determination, suddenly every challenge becomes an opportunity, every obstacle becomes a stepping stone, and every fear becomes a call to action. Changing your mindset begins with awareness. Most people go through life unconsciously, accepting the beliefs they were taught, the fears they were handed, and the excuses they have learned to live with. They allow their past failures, their environment, and even the opinions of others to dictate what they believe is possible. And because they never challenge these beliefs, they remain trapped inside invisible cages built from doubt, fear, and limitation. But the moment you recognize that these beliefs are just thoughts, just patterns, just mental constructs, you open the door to freedom. You can choose which beliefs to keep and which ones to discard. You can rewrite the story you have been telling yourself for years. You can shift your identity from someone who is held back to someone who is unstoppable. The key to mastering your mindset is refusing to accept mediocrity. Too many people settle for what is easy, safe, or familiar because they believe it is all they deserve. They allow the voice in their head to tell them, "You can't do this. You're not enough. It's impossible." And the cruel part is, the mind believes what it is told. It seeks evidence to support these limiting beliefs, and every failure, every obstacle, every doubt reinforces them. But here's the truth. Your mind is a tool, not a master. You can train it. You can shape it. You can feed it thoughts, beliefs, and perspectives that empower you rather than weaken you. The more you focus on possibility, strength, and resilience, the more your mind aligns with action, courage, and determination. Developing a powerful mindset is also about taking responsibility. You must stop blaming circumstances, other people, or bad luck for your limitations. Every excuse you make, every story you tell yourself about why you can't achieve something, is a reflection of a mindset that is holding you back. Responsibility is freedom. When you accept that your life is a result of your choices and your mindset, you gain control. You no longer wait for permission, validation, or ideal conditions. You become the architect of your own destiny. You start to see challenges not as threats, but as opportunities to prove your strength, to grow, and to expand your potential. A strong mindset also thrives on action. Thought alone is not enough. Belief alone is not enough. You must act in alignment with your beliefs. Every time you push yourself to do something difficult, every time you step into fear, every time you refuse to quit, you reinforce the mindset of someone who is unstoppable. Each action becomes proof to your brain that you are capable, that you can handle challenges, that you can grow beyond any limit. Momentum builds, confidence grows, and what once felt impossible begins to feel inevitable. Finally, mindset is about resilience. Life will test you. It will push you to your limits. It will throw setbacks, failures, and obstacles in your path. But if your mindset is strong, if you have trained your mind to believe in possibility and refuse limitation, then these tests become opportunities. They become the forge in which your character, strength, and resolve are tempered. You will face rejection and disappointment, but you will not crumble. You will fall, but you will rise stronger. You will experience fear, but you will act anyway. You will confront doubt, but you will push forward relentlessly. Your mindset becomes the foundation for every success, every breakthrough, and every victory you achieve, and the more you cultivate it, the more unstoppable you become. Action defeats fear. That is the single most powerful truth you can embrace if you want to break through your limits. Fear is not your enemy. It is a signal, a guidepost, a compass that points directly to where you need to grow. But most people respond to fear the wrong way. They avoid it. They shrink from it. They rationalize it. They tell themselves, maybe next time, or I'll try later, or it's too risky. And each time they do, fear grows stronger, controls their decisions, and reinforces their limitations. Action, on the other hand, is the antidote. Action is what transforms fear into power, hesitation into momentum, doubt into confidence. Every step you take in the face of fear is a step toward freedom, a step toward breaking the chains that have held you back for far too long. You see, fear only has the power you give it. It is an illusion, a product of your imagination predicting outcomes that may never happen. And yet, it can stop you dead in your tracks if you let it. The moment you act despite fear, you shatter that illusion. You show yourself, in real, undeniable terms, that you are stronger than the voice in your head that tells you you can't. Action creates proof. It creates momentum. It turns ideas into results and dreams into reality. And here is the truth that most people overlook. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to feel confident. You don't need to have everything perfectly planned. You need to move. You need to act. The act of doing is what transforms potential into achievement. Every limit you face, every obstacle that seems insurmountable, every challenge that makes your heart race is an opportunity disguised as fear. It is life's way of asking, how badly do you want this? Most people fail because they answer that question with hesitation, avoidance, or procrastination. But when you answer it with action, when you step forward even when you are scared, you send a message to yourself and the universe that you are committed, you are resilient, you are willing to fight. And that willingness changes everything. It shifts your mindset, your energy, and your trajectory. Action is the bridge between who you are today and who you are capable of becoming. You must also understand that action compounds. One step leads to another. One bold decision builds confidence for the next. Momentum grows exponentially when you refuse to wait, when you refuse to make excuses, when you refuse to let fear dictate your path. Each time you act, you rewire your brain, creating new neural pathways that reinforce courage, resilience, and determination. Over time, fear loses its power because you have proven to yourself repeatedly that you can handle it. You are no longer a prisoner of hesitation. You are no longer a slave to uncertainty. You are someone who acts decisively, relentlessly, and without apology. Action is also the ultimate teacher. You cannot learn courage by thinking about it. You cannot learn resilience by avoiding discomfort. You cannot learn strength by staying in your comfort zone. You learn these things by doing, by showing up, by stepping into the fire of challenge, and by refusing to back down. Every mistake, every failure, every setback is a lesson in disguise. Action allows you to extract those lessons, grow from them, and use them as fuel for your next move. Fear may still appear, but it becomes smaller, weaker, less capable of controlling you because you have trained yourself through action to move forward anyway. And let's be honest, action requires commitment. It requires discipline. It requires a refusal to let excuses, distractions, or comfort dictate your life. Most people fail not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because they lack the consistent willingness to act. They wait for perfect timing, perfect conditions, or perfect confidence, and in doing so, they let fear win. You, however, can decide today that you will not wait, you will not hesitate, you will not let fear dictate what you do or who you become. You will act boldly, take risks, and do what is necessary to break through your limits, knowing that each step, each movement forward is a victory in itself. The beauty of action is that it transforms your identity. Every time you act despite fear, you reinforce a new version of yourself. Someone capable, courageous, unstoppable, and committed. Action is the ultimate proof of strength, the undeniable evidence that you are bigger than the challenges in front of you, stronger than the doubts inside of you, and more capable than the limits you once believed were unbreakable. Decide to rise now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when conditions are perfect or when fear finally disappears. The moment you hesitate, the moment you wait for permission, the moment you cling to excuses, you reinforce limits that were never real. The choice to rise is yours and yours alone, and it begins with a decision. Declaration that you will no longer allow circumstances, doubt, or fear to dictate the life you live. You have the power to choose courage over comfort, action over hesitation, and growth over stagnation. Every second you delay is a second that your limits gain strength. Every moment you resist stepping forward, you let fear hold the pen that writes the story of your life. And the truth is, nobody else will break your limits for you. Nobody else will take the risks, endure the pain, or confront the obstacles that stand between you and the life you were meant to live. Choosing to rise is not a one-time event. It is a commitment. It is a series of decisions made every day, every hour, every minute. It is saying to yourself, I will act even when I am afraid. I will move even when the path is uncertain. I will persist even when failure seems inevitable. It is choosing to respond to challenges with resilience rather than retreat, with faith rather than fear, with determination rather than doubt. And the remarkable thing about this choice is that it creates momentum. The more you rise, the more confident you become in your ability to rise again. The more you push forward, the more you expand your capacity to achieve, to endure, to overcome. Every time you make the choice to rise, you send a message to your mind, body, and soul that you are not defined by limits, but by your willingness to exceed them. Deciding to rise now also means embracing responsibility. It means accepting that your life is not dictated by luck, circumstance, or other people's opinions. It is dictated by your choices, your actions, and your mindset. Every excuse you make, every rationalization you cling to, every complaint you voice is a surrender to limitation. And surrender is the opposite of rising. Rising requires ownership. Rising requires accountability. Rising requires acknowledging that you have everything you need to take control of your life if only you decide to do it. When you accept this responsibility, you stop blaming the past, the system, or anyone else for your current situation. You stop waiting for the right moment, and instead create the right moment through your actions, your focus, and your commitment. Rising now also requires vision. You cannot rise without seeing what is possible. You cannot break limits without imagining a life beyond your current circumstances. Vision gives you direction, clarity, and purpose. It allows you to see the obstacles not as barriers, but as stepping stones to something greater. It gives you the energy to endure the struggle because you know that the effort is not in vain. Every time you envision a life beyond your limits, you are setting the stage for action. You are defining the destination, and from that destination, you can map the steps necessary to get there. Without vision, action is aimless, courage is scattered, and persistence is weak. But with a clear vision, every choice to rise becomes intentional, every challenge becomes an opportunity, and every failure becomes a lesson. Deciding to rise now also demands resilience. Life will push back. Obstacles will appear, setbacks will come, people will doubt you, circumstances will challenge you, and fear will whisper relentlessly in your ear that you are not capable. But rising is not about avoiding adversity. It is about facing it and moving forward anyway. It is about refusing to let the world or your own doubts keep you small. Every time you encounter resistance and choose to rise, you strengthen the mental, emotional, and physical muscles that define who you are. Each act of courage builds a foundation for the next. Each step forward, no matter how difficult, proves to yourself that you are more capable than you imagined, more resilient than you believed, and more unstoppable than you ever dared to think. Finally, deciding to rise now is about claiming your power. It is about recognizing that your potential is limitless, and that the only thing standing between you and the life you desire is your willingness to step into action. You have the ability to break free from limitations, to shatter doubt, and to transcend the boundaries that have held you back. Every moment of hesitation is a choice to remain small. Every moment of courage is a declaration that you will rise above fear, surpass expectation, and create a life that reflects the greatness within you.